Hello everyone, my name is Tamara. I'm a research assistant at the University of Osijek in Croatia at the Department of Biology. And in the next few minutes I will introduce you our approach in quantifying earthworm behavior using deep learning. Substances of anthropogenic origin are present in all ecosystems, including soil, and the continuous development of new chemical compounds and materials. With this, it is estimated that about 1,000 new compounds are produced every year, and some of them, of course, end up in the environment. Their characteristics are degradation. They can also transform into various different forms, which are either more toxic than the original compound or less toxic than the original compound. Some of them are persistent in the environment. They can also bioaccumulate in the organisms and in the food webs. And of course, chemicals are not present only as single compounds, but as complex mixtures in the environment. Ecotoxicology is dealing with the ecotoxicological effects of pollutants, which began at the molecular level, then they move on the cellular level, organism level, and on the whole populations. And the most important endpoints are those which can be quickly detected. The most common endpoints of ecotoxicological tests are changes in the activity of biochemical stress biomarkers, the survival rate of the individuals, growth dynamics, avoidance responses, immobilization, and reproduction rate. And in the latest time, behavior has been recognized as an important and valuable endpoint. And thanks to the technological advancements, a new field of ecotoxicology has been developed, which is called behavioral ecotoxicology, thanks to the development of camera systems and computational power, which can then analyze the input data. Our goal was to develop a low-cost system which can automatically monitor the earthworm behavior directly in the soil and do this continuously. What's important is that although behavioral endpoints have been recognized as important endpoints in ecotoxicological research, they are predominantly used in aquatic systems. Why? Because, of course, water is a more friendly environment to observe the behavior of the organisms. And in this research, we tended to overcome the obstacles that soil represents as a medium. Our system implements a 2D terrarium, a tool which is widely used in earthworm behavior studies. We placed 2 cameras on the opposite side of the terrarium. The whole system is enclosed in a closed box, and we are continuously recording both sides of the terrarium. Then we trained a neural network of a so-called UNet architecture, which then detects the most probable locations of the earthworms. We do this continuously, and this way we can quantify the characteristics of the earthworm tunnels. So the input dataset consisted of image pairs. The input is the photograph of the 2D terrarium, and the output is the manually labeled earthworm position. This was quite a labor-intensive task. We had to label more than 1,000 photographs, but the results were worth it. We tested the system in several experimental setups, including modified avoidance test setup. We exposed earthworms to various pesticides and their mixtures. We also used microplastics as a pollutant, and we tested the performance with different soil compositions as well. This is the end result of the system, so the output of the neural network. We have input from one and the second camera, and the neural network gives a joint prediction of the location of the earthworms. This is the result during time, so feeding all image pairs captured during a given exposure period, we get a series of predictions of earthworm locations, and this allows continuous monitoring of earthworm presence and distribution within the exposure medium. And again, an example of a result obtained during a modified avoidance test setup, which utilizes an important advantage of our system, which is the time component. So during the time, we can observe where the earthworms are located. Here, in this example, we have two halves of the terrarium. One is filled with control soil, and the other is filled with polluted soil. And then we can observe the visible earthworm biomass in the halves or in the quadrants of the terrarium. What's interesting is that using this approach, we were able to detect the so-called exploratory behavior of earthworms. So they didn't only stay in the control soil, but they entered the polluted soil as well, and then they transferred back into the control soil. Another result we can obtain is the burrow system reconstruction. This is at the end of the exposure, but we can also watch the evolution of the tunnel system during the exposure period. We use several behavioral elements, which we calculate based on the results you have already seen. For example, the length of the tunnel system, the burrow system complexity, the reuse of the tunnels, mobility index, position regarding the halves or the quadrants of the terrarium, and detection of exploratory behavior. We also managed to do some correlations with some more commonly measured endpoints. For example, we correlated the mean burrow length with the mean mass change during the exposure period. In this example, we had soils with different composition. So in conclusion, we proved that deep learning model developed represents a cost-effective tool for objective and continuous earthworm behavior monitoring. It has proven useful for detecting and quantifying some unexpected behavioral patterns, and we advocate intensification of using computer vision and deep learning techniques to replace human expert opinion in some cases, and generally to include more behavioral tests in ecotoxicology. Our research is partly described in this paper. I encourage you to read it, and if you have any questions, please reach out. I would like to acknowledge Croatian Science Foundation for funding me personally and funding the two projects in which this system is successfully used. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Thank you.